Hargreaves, chance for Torquay! Chris Hargreaves, the captain! If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells!
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Gull'S Eye View. I'm joined by Tom.
Lads, got some internet trouble at the moment, so apologies if I cut out at any point. Might be a good thing, to be honest, but
That's
evening.
fine. Your voice is there, but your face is frozen. That's fine. And we've got Chris.
Evening all.
And we've got Dom.
Evening, guys. You're right.
I would like to announce before this video starts that we've got a sponsor. You may have seen this if you've been following our social medias. And we've been partnered by the brilliant Galaxy Sports Bar in Torquay. And yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for that. If you don't know, Galaxy is a brilliant premier sports bar with two Torquay fans running it. It's about, 20-minute walk from Playmore and 10-minute walk from the tour station. Galaxy, I'm literally reading the website because it's better what I can make up about it. But yeah, you can watch football there. It's a lovely place. It's got a brilliant vibe to it, sports vibe to it. So yeah, thank you so much for that. We also have a special offer. We have a special code, and if you've been observant, you would have seen it at the start of this video. But use that code TORQUAYTALK for half price on pool games. And yes, thank you. So into the video anyway. Where do we start? See, we could do it chronological, but we're not. We're going to start at Derby because that's what we're all talking about. Tom, you were there. What are your thoughts?
I'm glad the game's done now. It was a great turnout from the Yellow Army, a great occasion. Result, probably what I was expecting, to be honest. I mean, Derby, they cut us apart, didn't they? At times, you know, it was 3-on-1 at the back at times, but I don't think we did ourselves too much of a disservice. Ellis's own goal's unfortunate. The other two goals are quite poor to concede, and I think if you go in maybe 2-0 down at halftime, there's still a chance maybe that we could have possibly taken it to penalties. But that fourth goal was an absolute cracker, wasn't it? Like, I mean, we all applauded when that went in, and it's just a shame that we didn't get a goal because I think we deserved at least one. We had our moments.
We definitely got proud.
The Yellow Army did themselves proud as well. I think there was about 850 odd. They didn't really announce a number, but they were terrific from minute one. And the Derby fans that did decide to turn up for their only home game of the month, they were noisy as well. And good luck to them in the next round. You know, took them 2 games to get by us. So it was a fun occasion. You know, I made a last minute call to go up there, but knackered today. But bread and butter's the league, and now we can properly focus and try and get out of this relegation scrap heap because that's where we are, aren't we? Yeah, at the moment, and we've got some big games coming up. Especially, I think we've got Gateshead, haven't we, at the end of the month, and that already looks like a huge 6-pointer. But you know, we've got money in the bank, and I don't think we did ourselves too bad a disservice, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, no, sounds good. I, for people who were interested, was not at the game. I was at a Kaiser Chief concert because I'd already booked it. So I can't actually really add much. I've watched the highlights. I was just relying on WhatsApp. I couldn't watch the game. Phone Pavilion, sort your Wi-Fi out. Couldn't watch the game. All I saw was WhatsApp message going, "Oh, Mark," and I immediately, sorry, Halstead, but I immediately went, "Oh, what's Halstead done?" And then I read that Mark Ellis had put it in his own goal.
Picking on him now, aren't you?
I know. I was just like, oh.
It's funny because if you look at the stats of the game, I saw somebody put on Twitter earlier. If you looked at the stats of the game, what was the score of this game? Because I think we had more shots, same on target, more corners.
I think we had more territorial. We spent more time in their half, but every time they attacked, they actually looked like scoring. That was the trouble, wasn't it?
That's the thing. But it's just, that own goal was just so unfortunate because we actually started really well.
Yeah.
We got corner in the first minute. We had a couple of corners in that first 5 minutes. We kind of pushed them back. We'd got De Silva high down the right, haven't we? And they must have thought, geez, crikey, they've come for us here a bit. And then the first time they broke away, that happened. And you kind of, that was kind of the start of the troubles defensively again.
I mean, we played with bravado, didn't we? I mean, the way we set up, we were never going to keep them from scoring less than 2 or 3 because we were pushing up, get the wingers going, high line and all that lot. I mean, I wanted to I'd rather us be like that rather than just sit back because we'd have lost anyway. So at least we went up, we had a go.
Yeah, no,
Supporters
I'm
appreciated
delighted.
that. I think
I'm
that
delighted with
there's
it.
no point in sitting
That point.
10 men behind the ball and trying to defend all game as though we'd have lost. So it's just trying to set up the defensive
Yeah, that
shape
being
better for
said,
coming games for me. I mean, it looked okay last night going forward, but
oh, it's
can we
awful.
set up the defence better?
That being said, like obviously, I know I said that I'm delighted to win, and we gave it a go. We just as proud, but I'm basing it on highlights. But it just looks so all over the place still.
It's the
Like,
big gaps
they
between
made
the
it hard for
defence and the
Derby, did we?
midfield. Every time the ball went into midfield, they only had to escape one tackle, and they had free rein just to run at us. And
I don't know what it is.
I can't say the defence played too badly between them. I mean, Crow had a bad game, but they were just left exposed by a midfield that was knackered, and it just made it hard to keep them out, didn't it?
It does, and I think the issue actually the defenders themselves, as you said, I thought did okay apart from Crow, who doesn't seem to have any positional sense at all. But there's something on again. It's hard to put your finger on it. But again, if you looked at the second half on Saturday, there's something in the when the ball is turned over in midfield. When we've got the ball, Gary commented on it in the interview after the game last night. When the ball is turned over in midfield and we lose the ball during that transition, getting a bit complicated, but during that transitional phase, when you've got to go from going forward to going back and then going from going back to going forward, we end up just massively outnumbered. The amount of time, and it's partly the legs in midfield. You need legs in midfield who can get up and down. But last night, the amount of times the ball turned over, and before you could click your fingers, they had 3 coming through midfield, another 2 out wide, the 2 forward, and all of a sudden it became kind of 5 on 3, 6 on 4 so quickly.
Feels like we've gone for the risk. Feels like we've gone for the risk or reward.
Yeah, but you can't do that. You don't have to play like that.
Just push them in forward, hoping to outscore other teams, which is fine. But when you meet better teams like Chesterfield and Derby, it's it's not going to.
You can't play like that. Last night was just a kind of an extreme version of kind of the last 2 games. I mean, if you look at the Dorking game, which was a fascinating game in terms of for a National League game, because so different. Crazy. It's so different. But I left that game thinking almost a bit kind of like. I almost just kind of laughing to myself because it just felt mental. The way that they played, the way that we played, the way that we kind of, when you've got a system that they play where basically your central midfielder is pressing the centre back from the ball being in play. It was crazy, but
there's no control in the game. That's the
not at all.
There's no control. It's sort of chaos at the moment. And I mean, at the start of the season, we were so passive, so defensive. We sat back. We barely got an attack. Now we've gone completely the other way around. Almost like Gary's gone, right, we got a few better attackers now. Let's just have a go. And we do look like scoring, but I mean, we're conceding like nobody's business, aren't we?
I mean, how many games has it been since we've had a clean sheet? Was it Halifax?
21 games.
It was like, and Halstead had the best game of his career in that game. So.
Yeah, the thing about Derby was they would ping one ball forward, and all of a sudden it was 3-on-1. And it's like, wow, crikey.
You can be an attacking team, but that should never happen, even if you're an attacking team. I'm sorry, but it never should.
But you have to have a way of playing, which means you can do both. You have to be able to attack, but have a system that says that if you lose the ball and you're getting attacked all of a sudden, that you've got numbers in position or a structure to your team. And I guess it is the problem. I've been with Sam that I think we needed to go to 4-4-2 because 3 at the back doesn't work. But the problem with 4 in midfield, of course, is we've got 2 quite direct wings, so into Silva and Wern. So if they're forward because you're attacking, because they're supplementing the 2 frontmen, you lose the ball and the ball starts coming down your sides, all of a sudden you've got 4-on-2 already in midfield, and they're then flooding back and you've already got momentum.
You have to have hard work.
You have natural wit.
They have to work. 4-4-2, but most of the teams
have to work.
Most of the teams in the National League, if you look from a playing free in midfield, aren't they? They're getting numbers around. We're getting outnumbered, and
the central midfield.
It's all right saying to Goodwin or Jarvis, come back and help out, but they're not those sort of players, are they? They're not midfield stroke strikers. They're out and out, up top kind of players. So we're just getting outnumbered.
I mean, for me, what I don't get when you play 4-4-2, your central midfielders are going to get overrun because everyone's playing 3 in midfield. So I like how Lapsey presses, but in a 2. It's almost like they're just getting completely outnumbered. They need to be if we in that position where our midfielders, the wingers, have lost the ball. The midfielders need to be back there. But when like Asa Hall's here and Lapsley's up there, I mean, that's why I just think 4-4-2 is a good start. But I still say it's just player dependent, isn't it? I mean, a 4-3-3 where you've got more of a holding midfielder who sits back and then a pressing and then a more creative one. Again, we're limited.
The best structure, I was thinking about it earlier.
And then your wingers are more like inside forwards to your
then
strikers.
You're losing out a bit on the width.
You're not though, because you've got 2 wingers still.
Yeah,
and
but they'd have to go inside to help the
those
striker.
Those wingers can either sit out there or go in. So you can basically play 3 strikers if you want, or 2 wingers and a striker.
I think that would work for Worm, but I don't think it worked for De Silva because he is a proper winger. So it's
but he can still go
I think
out.
it's the trouble at the moment is Gary Johnson's trying to find what will work best for all the players, isn't he? And he's still juggling it around.
I still think it would work for me personally.
I would agree. I agree with
Jarvis can play up on his own as his own striker, and
I think he could. That's the thing.
Because the 2 up front are good strikers, but they don't get the service that they need.
But they also don't play particularly well together. I don't think. I haven't seen much interplay between the two to say that's going to work. I like to see Jarvis up top in a kind of Danny Wright role. I think that might work.
I think, Sam, I was thinking about this earlier. I agree with what you're saying, just in a slightly different tweak. The best kind of system I've seen us play was that system we played. Sure, we had good players, and you have to have good players, and we were successful. Was that 4-2-3-1 we played?
Yeah,
the year we got to the player final a couple of years ago.
And we were playing it a bit last season as well.
Yeah, you've got 2 holding midfield players, and then one can go, one can stay. You've got wide, you've got width because your 2 over 3 can go that way or that way or that way. Now the beauty of that system, of course, is you have to have players that work. So when you had Whitfield in the main, they both worked. They were so fit. They were naturally up and down.
Creative number 10, which we don't have in our squad at all.
Yeah, and then you could have Goodwin in behind Jarvis in that. So that kind of, because you could even do that with the formation with those players that played last night. You could have Hall and Lapsley sitting. Lapsley goes a bit more than Hall does, and he sits. And you could have Werner and De Silva with Goodwin in behind Jarvis. I don't know the personnel would work, but that system lets you have a bit more width and then transition.
This team needs 11 Evans. This team needs 11 Evans because, like, I agree. 4-2-3-1 is my favourite probably formation, but in this squad, you would have to play a 4-3-3, I guess, because you look at your Hansons, they're not ever like when I originally saw McGavin, I thought he was going to be a bit more of the creative player. We all did. I mean, we put this ridiculous expectation on him. But like
he can play advance to the midfield, McGavin, I think, but it's going to take time.
It's going to take time, and I just feel like you could play just 3 in midfield at the moment, just shore it up a bit. Have one holding steady Eddie one, then you have just Lapsley doing the Lapsley. And then just
what we need really is a new and energized Asa Hall for me. I mean, he's
just give him a rest, Gary, please. We all love Asa Hall.
Yeah,
but like
somebody you can get across the grass quickly. You need to close down players.
Don't make him play 4 basically 90-minute games. I know the options there aren't good enough, but you've signed them. So what are you meant to do? Just loan them out and not play them again? I don't understand it. Or just try and hopefully do something.
I don't know what you think, Tom, but my view on some of this, I've said this before, the bit I still don't fully understand about the recruitment of these players is that if you logically, and again, you recruit players to a system that you want to play logically. So because I was thinking after the Dorking game, imagine trying to recruit players to play in that system. Because it's a very bespoke kind of system that you're trying to recruit for. But if you look at our recruitment in the summer, I don't understand what he was
based against a 3-5-2, wasn't it? Martin left, Crow right, Lapsley, Gavin and Hanson in midfield.
But there's not enough. There's not enough options in that. There's not enough. Tomlinson he clearly doesn't fancy in the first team, so there's not enough centre backs for that. There's not enough natural width to it. There's not enough creativity. Okay, Hanson and McGavin, he's signed to be creative midfield players, and they may yet be. But you look at that, I would sign players to fit into a system that I wanted to play. And we've played 3 at the back, we've played 4 at the back, we've kind of played the 2 in midfield, we've played a 4, and it's kind of almost, as Sam said, kind of trying to find a system that works from what you've got.
It's a bit of a nightmare, isn't it?
You've got to have 2 systems as well. You've got to kind of be like, right, you also want to play 3-5-2, you've also got to be, limited budget and all that. You've got to also play something like, if this doesn't work, I've got to have like a 4 back.
But we're nearly halfway through the season now, and there just doesn't seem to be an identity about this team this season. There's just like yesterday.
I don't think there's a system that's in place that's working yet, is there?
We were going through so many formations yesterday. like at one point it was like, what formation are we playing? It was like we went 3-5-2, 4-4-2. It just seemed like we were trying different things. And at one point,
I mean, you
the
look at the
comment I
Aldershot
stood next
game,
to-
though, that was a 4-4-2, and we battered them because we play the basics of football well.
But if you look at the Aldershot game, I think we caught them cold as well because we signed new players and they weren't ready for what we were going to throw at them.
Of course, yeah. For me,
since then, you'll get us scouted and they'll look at our weaknesses and go, right, they're playing 4-4-2.
You're bang on.
That's what we can do. That's how we can get.
I think the Dorking and the Chesil games was come on that before we go to the next part. The Dorking game is the one that's angered me the most. Like, Chesil lost 5-1. It wasn't a 5-1 game. They were so good. Oh my god, they're so good.
That was Chesterfield.
Yeah, the Chesterfield one. But like someone said, but the Dorking game.
Yeah.
As Chris said earlier, what a weird game. Fair play, Dorking.
It was.
I love what Mark White's done. I've said that
lovely
before.
team to watch, aren't they?
But they were so good. It's going to sound not disrespectful to the players there because some good players for Dorking, some really good players. But he plays a football where if they had even better players, which I believe they were having a couple of years when they've got a bit more funding, they've been in the league a bit and all that.
Yeah.
They might to stay out, which I think they will, even with their injuries to Alfie Rutherford, and he was out for the season with his heart and ACL, whatever it was, the injury, I think. But the better those players get, the more that's going to cause damage because it's just a brilliant. And our game, it was really weird tactical battle. But we just didn't close down all these games. Look, that Derby goal was ridiculous last night, but we're not doing basics still. Like if you just close down, was it Nicky Wheeler who scored that goal? He's one of their best players, And at first you think that's top corner. It wasn't top corner.
But again, that said, with that goal, I've got less issue with because if that's me, as he's got the ball, 35 yards out, and he's taking a touch, I'm thinking, well, go on, mate, have a shot.
Yeah.
If you want to have a shot, you crack on because the percentages are scoring from there. The bit that struck me about that game that I still is that we couldn't get the ball.
No, and we did. We lost it.
Yeah, and of course, and yes, they moved the ball quickly. Yes, it was all based around beating our front press, and then once you've done that, then breaking quickly behind us. But we couldn't get the ball. Couldn't get it off them. And
when your plan is based on a press and you're knackered, it's not going to happen, is it?
Oh,
they tied us out in the first half, didn't they? But my biggest problem was when we had the ball, we lost it stupidly, and they were so easy to get through because we've got a bit of talent. We could get through it. We've got talent going forward.
They really impressed me the way they could move around the pitch. Their first touch was so good. Every time it went to them, touch, pass,
everything about them was just. I thought was just relatively refreshing. I mean, whether you like Mark Smith or not, but I mean, I watched his interview after the game.
I love
that kind of honesty. Doesn't have to have bad language in it necessarily, but for a club to be that open that a manager can sit and say, "Cool, yeah, did you watch Southend?" I was like, "Cool, me, crikey," and that kind of honesty that kind of quite often, our interviews are so kind of scripted and positive, falsely positive, and all of that. But to just be that honest, and even the interviewer saying, "Oh, that wasn't very good, was it?" And he's slagging the keeper off, and that kind of thing. That honesty.
It's an interesting tactic.
But but fans like us identify with that honesty and kind of like because it's what blokes like women who go to matches think themselves almost, rather than that kind of corporate. Oh, I've got to say this. The lads gave 100%. We gave it everything. I'm proud of the effort. All of that. It's just saying it how you or I would say it.
It's a club with ambition. He's an ambitious man, isn't he?
Man. I mean, he's saying they're self-sustainable in the National League. He's always said. But,
and he's got money.
I think.
Helps.
It's just the fact we've had how many games? We've had 4 games in the space of
10 days,
11, 12 days. Yeah. I mean, they had a week off. Chesterfield had a week off, didn't they? I mean, Chesterfield, the goals they scored were top notch, but again, we just gave them so much time and space. It was like, take as much time as you want, lads. Have a pop. You're not going to score from there. And it's like, oh, sugar. Yeah.
That second goal, I was so angry.
Yeah, as soon as that game was outside, as soon as I made it 4-1, I was like, right, take Acer off, just wrap him in cotton wool for the last 20 minutes, give him a little break, and it was like Gary didn't he mention at full time after Chesterfield, we're all tired, and it was like, yeah, but make the changes.
Almost a stubborn refusal the last 4 games, isn't it? I don't really rate these other players. I'm going to just keep playing that first 11, hope for something. But
I mean, how many goals have we conceded?
You've got to look after them.
How many goals have we conceded in the 4 games? A lot.
10, 15.
It's unfortunately you're not going to survive relegation if you're going to concede 4 or 5 every game.
I think the only thing
And
I'd
we're not
say
gonna
at the moment
score.
is the squad. I think it's got enough in it if we can find the right tactics and the right formation to make it work.
This current lot of
I
players,
think we've got enough there.
but they're not permanent, don't they? They're going to go within a month.
Yeah, if we can keep these players, that's the difficult thing.
That's one of the answers.
What I will say about Ness impressed me yesterday in the Derby game. I thought he made some great challenges.
Yeah.
So did Donnellan as well. He impressed me as well, and I've been slightly critical of Donnellan. I thought he had a really good game. But
you and John both.
Crow had a really poor game. Asa was knackered. Lapsey tried his best, but again, he was knackered.
I think the trouble with Crow is he just doesn't seem to have any defensive instinct, does he? When a guy sees he's going to go one way, he goes the other. He has no sort of understanding of what's going to happen on a football pitch, and he just looks at it.
I mean, Goodwin tried his best, but he's shattered. He's played every game, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He needs a break.
He needs a break.
I know he's only 19, 20, but he's been playing every minute of every game.
I have to say, I have to apologise if anyone heard it, but on not of a bad language nature, but just the third goal on Saturday, I kind of blew my top a little bit because I just with Crow, because you could just see it coming a mile off. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's inexperienced. Yes, he's playing on the wrong flank, but you could just see it coming a mile off. When they won the ball, the guy was 10 yards in front of him, and he kind of looks up and goes, "Oh, that's my guy," and it's all just so apathetic. Everything he does, body language, his movement, his position, everything, and you could just see it coming a mile off. And the bloke on the other flank then, smashed it in the top corner. But it all stemmed from the fact that if he had just got tighter to that bloke, he wouldn't have then been able to run away from him. Nowhere near him
as well. You
could see it coming a mile off, and it's just so frustrating when you can, because I can see it. So why can't players? He just doesn't have any instinct.
I mean, we've lauded Mark Ellis, haven't we, after the Aldershot game? But he's made a few errors in the last few games.
It's going to happen. I'm sorry, it's going to happen.
I think almost like he's trying to make up for all the other deficiencies in defence and trying to do too much. On Saturday he went for a corner and missed it, and he had the own goal last night. He's almost like he's just trying too hard. He just needs to do his own job, and the others have got to look after their own patches, haven't they? You can't do it all. It's trouble.
The thing that annoys me the most is, we've played Wrexham away, Notts County away, Chesterfield at home. We used to be so competitive against them. Teams with bigger budgets than we have. We were so competitive. And there was someone posted on TORQUAYTALK about, when we beat them last year. And it's just so depressing to see it, 6-0 Wrexham. I mean, I'm sure they mentioned it all on BBC yesterday, all the heavy defeats. I bet they mentioned the playoff final and all that jazz. But it's just depressing, man. I don't mind. I can take losing, but we've got be competitive, and we're just not this season. And
that was so dispiriting after that Chesterfield game. You think about it, we've played those top three. Yes, they're out of our league, and everyone's league's on budget. But we've conceded 15 goals in 3 games. That's not being competitive. I'm sorry, it's not. That's not being competitive. Like, I was at Notts County, and it was just it was a procession. And there was nothing about us that thought, we're going to come here, we're going to be competitive. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we're going to sit in, we're going to break. There's nothing about that made you think that we thought we could get anything. And you're right. It is that I came away from the Chesterfield game feeling that it's just depressing, just how far away. And you can say, we beat them in May, and exactly, we were all there and we enjoyed all the rest of it. But this is a different squad, this is different players. But that also shows you that the recruitment that's been made is so far off.
What I'd like to see Gary do is adjust the tactics a little bit to suit who we're playing. I mean, last 4 games we've just played the same stuff, same team, same formation. I think we have to be a little bit cleverer than that. I mean, I'm sure other teams are adjusting their tactics to what we do, but we just don't seem to be thinking the same way. It's a stubborn refusal. We'll play as we are,
and that's surprising coming from a man of his experience in this game.
I think we'll wrap up the first one there. Are we feeling better now? Did I piece it?
Breathe out, Chris. Breathe in.
Anyway, so thanks for watching the first part, and then we're going to be back for the second part where we've asked the question, and you'll see the next episode. And thank you for your responses in advance.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.